The Draft Online Safety Act 2023 Priority Offences Amendment Regulations 2024.
I call the Minister to move the motion.
Mr Dowd, as ever, it is a joy to see you in your seat and as usual, in a very fine suit. I beg to move that the Delegated Legislation Committee do consider the Draft Online Safety Priority Offences Amendment Regulations 2024, which were laid before the House on the 12th of September. The government, the Labour Party that is, we stated in our manifesto that we would use every government tool available to target perpetrators and address the root causes of abuse and violence in order to achieve our landmark mission to halve violence against women and girls in a decade. I'm sure the whole of the committee would agree with that. Through this statutory instrument, we are broadening online platforms and search services' responsibilities for tackling image abuse under the Online Safety Act. As all members, I'm sure, of the committee will know, the Online Safety Act received royal assent on the 26th of October 2023. It places strong new duties on online user-to-user platforms and on search engines and search services to protect their users from harm. As part of this, the Act gives service providers new illegal content duties. Under these duties, online platforms need to assess the risk that their services will allow users to encounter illegal content or be used for the commission or facilitation of so-called priority offences. They then need to take steps to mitigate identified risks. These will include implementing safety by design measures to reduce risks and also content moderation systems to remove illegal content where it does appear. The Act sets out the Online Safety Act, sets out a list of priority offences for the purposes of providers' illegal content duties. These offences reflect the most serious and prevalent online illegal content and activity. These priority offences are set out in Schedule 7 to the Act. Platforms will need to take additional steps to tackle these kinds of illegal activity under their illegal content duties. Section 66B, C and D of the Sexual Offences Act 2003, as amended by the Online Safety Act 2023, introduce a series of intimate image abuse offences. This statutory instrument means that these offences, the ones I've just referred to, will now be included in the list of priority offences, the ones that the organisations have to take action over. These offences include the sharing of manufactured or manipulated images, including deep fakes, and sharing images where the intent was to cause distress. This means online platforms will be required to tackle more intimate image abuse than without this statutory instrument, and I'm sure and I hope that the whole committee would support what we're doing here. These will come into force next spring, as the Act provides that the Ofcom needs to be able to implement them within 18 months of royal assent. Ofcom will set out the specific steps providers can take to fulfil their illegal content duties for intimate image abuse and other illegal content in codes of practice and guidance documentation, and Ofcom is currently producing this documentation at the moment. The new duties will start to be enforced from spring next year, as soon as Ofcom have issued these codes of practice and they have come into force because of the 18 months having passed. Providers will need to have done their risk assessment for illegal content by then. In other words, the work starts now. We anticipate that Ofcom will recommend that providers should take action in a number of areas. These include content moderation, reporting and complaints procedures, and safety by design steps, like testing their algorithm systems to see whether illegal content is being recommended to users. I'm sure that all honourable members of the committee will be able to think of instances that we've read about in the press which would be tackled precisely by this piece of legislation. And I would just say, because the Honourable Member for Meriden is in his place and is about to speak, that we do welcome the work that the previous government did, where we can cooperate across the House to secure strong regulation to make sure that everybody is protected in this sphere. We will work together, and I hope that that's the tenor of the comments that he's going to make in a few moments. Where companies are not removing and proactively stopping this vile material from appearing on their platforms, Ofcom have robust powers to take enforcement action against them, including the possibility of imposing fines of up to £18 million or 10% of qualifying worldwide revenue, whichever is the highest. Mr Dowd, in conclusion, through this statutory instrument, although it looks short, it is significant. We are broadening providers' duties for intimate image abuse content. Service providers will need to take proactive steps to search for, remove and limit people's exposure to this harmful kind of illegal content, including where it has been manufactured or manipulated and is in effect a deep fake. I therefore recommend this regulation to the House.
Thank you. The question is that the committee has considered the Draft Online Safety Act 2023 Priority Offences Amendment Regulations 2024. Let's keep at it.
Thank you, Mr Dowd. It is a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I'm happy to confirm that the opposition will be supporting this measure, not least because it complements the work, as the Minister has already said, work done by the last government in implementing the Online Safety Act, and not least because I was also the Minister responsible for implementing those terms after the Act received royal assent till the date of general election. I take great pride in having served in that government which introduced and passed the Online Safety Act. The Act places significant new responsibilities and duties on social media companies and platforms and search services to increase safety online. However, most importantly, this vital piece of legislation ensures that children are better protected online. And frankly, having just attended a round table listening to victims of online abuse, I know how important, I know the Minister will share my thoughts on this, is more important than ever, and I do share his sentiment where the opposition will work with the government to make sure that victims of online abuse certainly receive justice and they are supported and protected. It is a worrying and sad statistic that almost 3/4 of teenagers between 13 to 17 have encountered one or more potential harm online, and 3 in 5 secondary school-age children have been contacted online in a way that potentially made them feel uncomfortable. It is for these reasons that we ensured that the strongest measures in the Online Safety Act protect children. For example, platforms will be required to prevent children from accessing harmful and age-inappropriate content and provide parents and children with clear and accessible ways to report problems online when they do arise. Furthermore, the Act requires all in-scope services that allow pornography to use highly effective age assurance to prevent children from accessing it, including services that host user-generated content and services which publish pornography. Ofcom has robust enforcement powers available against companies who fail to fulfil their duties. The Act also includes provisions to protect adult users, as it ensures that major platforms are more transparent about which kinds of potentially harmful content they allow. It gives users more control over the types of content that they want to see. I note that Ofcom expects the illegal harm safety duties to become enforceable around March 2025, following Ofcom's publication of its illegal harm statement in December 2024. Does the Minister agree with me that platforms don't need to wait for these milestones, as I often say, and should already be taking action to improve safety on their sites? Can the Minister confirm that he is encouraging platforms to take proactive action in advance of any deadlines? Separate to the Online Safety Act, the last government also launched the Pornography Review, which is exploring the effectiveness of regulation, legislation and the law enforcement response to pornography. Can the Minister please provide reassurance that the review's final report is on schedule and will be published before the end of the year? Can the Minister also clarify that the review will consider the impact of violent and harmful pornography, what impact it has on women and girls? I'd be grateful for the Minister for his comments on these points and his cooperation throughout his tenure, but I'm also happy to add our support to this regulation and to see that the previous government's pivotal piece of legislation is making the UK the safest place in the world for a child to be online.
Minister?
Thank you very much. As I say, it's good to welcome the Honourable Member. I hope he stays in his place. I don't mean stays in the room for the rest of the day. Well, mind you. No, more importantly, that I hope it is good when people actually know something about the subject that they're talking about in debates in the House. And so it's good to have him still in this place, and I hope that's not a note from the Leader of the Opposition saying you're no longer responsible for this area. It says here, I thank the members of the committee for their valuable contributions to this debate, but anyway, the most important thing is he makes a very important point about the protection of children. That isn't actually precisely what this statutory instrument is about. The statutory instrument is about the requirements on platforms and search services to deal with intimate image abuse. which is a very specific thing that we're tackling this afternoon. I'm happy to write to him about the pornography review. That's not what we're debating this afternoon, but I'm very happy to write to him, and I hope we'll be able to provide him with the assurances that he seeks. But he makes the most important point of all when he says that platforms don't have to wait until next March to be able to take action in this field, because I'm sure anybody who is a parent or anybody who watches this part of society with even the slightest interest will know that this has been a very significant part of the damage that has been done to, I think, our whole social sphere over the last few years. Platforms need to take their responsibilities seriously. They don't need to wait for Ofcom to tell them how to do that. They should be taking action now, and they certainly need to be making the assessment now before it gets to next March or April of where there are risks, because otherwise there is a danger that Ofcom will immediately be taking action against them, because they'll say, sorry, you haven't even done the basic minimum that you need to be able to make people safe. Everybody wants the online world to be as safe as the world we all inhabit. And the only way we can do that is if we make sure that legislation is constantly updated. I know there are members who have often asked whether we want to update the Online Safety Act, because there are perhaps things where we may need to take further action in the future. We are very focused in the department at the moment on trying to make sure that it is fully implemented in the shape that it is before we start looking at new versions of legislation in this field. But where, such as here, there are sensible, small measures that we can take that will make a significant amount of difference, then we are very prepared to do that. And that's the attitude that we're trying to adopt. So I hope that the committee, Mr Dowd, agrees with me on the importance of updating the priority offences in the Online Safety Act as swiftly as possible, and therefore I commend these regulations to the House.
Thank you. The question is that the committee has considered the Draft Online Safety Act 2023 Priority Offences Amendment Regulations 2024. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order. Order.
12 Sound.